Episode 279 of the TV Dudes, recorded April 15th, 2020. Drama!
Drama. What an original title. He thought to himself as he said it aloud. Drama, you say? Yes, that is the word.
Kyle has experienced drama, but he has never experienced drama like Randy is going to bring. For if Randy brought drama like we experienced, but only his blood can move the drama, and we have frozen his arms.
It is I, Randy
because
O.
without the
Speedwagon.
drama. Randy O. Speedwagon.
So this week... go ahead.
Yeah.
This week we were talking...
Oh, no, I was going to say... Again, we're back here doing this via Skype and Zoom call. You guys, if you've been listening the past couple weeks, you know there's not an exact science to this. We're getting better, though. Not as evident by this, though.
All right, so this week we were talking 3 shows on Hulu. And I know Kyle might know where they're actually from, but I think they're all on Hulu. They all have in common a lot of drama. So there is Little Fires Everywhere, which is a 90s drama based on the novel by Celeste Ng. Motherland Fort Salem, which is a freeform series about military teen witches. There's plenty of teen drama in that. And JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, a dramatic exploration of class warfare and also zombies, vampires, and martial arts.
Oh my God. And a million other things. Sherlock Holmes. I started writing a list at one point.
Classic rock.
Indiana Jones.
We started... We started with that. If you were wondering what that nonsense at the top was, that is all relation to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which that is in here because Charles Armstrong, our patron, pitched in at the $20 level and said, hey guys, I want you to watch the first 10 episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures on Hulu, and we did, and we're going to have our thoughts once we get further in. Before we get to that, though, we're the TV Dudes. I'm Randy.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Les.
We got it. We
did
it! The alphabet!
The first time since we started recording over Zoom. Or who's endorsing us this week to Microsoft Teams? Yeah, whatever we're recording on. Yeah, nailed it.
So we're gonna start off with some old business because in addition to trying to keep up with the new stuff, we're all quarantined. We got time to watch some stuff, and for my part, I caught up on NBC's Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, which I believe is on episode 9 now.
Oh, awesome!
And it's closing in.
I'm only through 5.
Oh man, it's gotten so good. Kyler, where are you on this?
I didn't even watch that first episode.
You haven't watched any of it?
I like Pitch Perfect, but I'm like, I don't know, guys.
Oh man,
another singing show.
I definitely get the reticence on it. Every single episode has something where I'm like, this is so saccharine, this is not that great and then they'll turn a corner with it, and I'm like, oh, sons of bitches, and I realize that I'm like teared up and like they got me.
As they go on, they
pull up every episode.
Beyond just like Zoe and all the other characters and her dad and that kind of stuff, they've given each character, even the sort of fratty bros in her tech company, have gotten an episode sort of focus a little bit, and they're definitely diving into her relationship with the soon-to-be married guy and the guy who's her friend who's in love with her, and they're doing some things where they go in and. You know how when you watch like Buffy or Flash and some of these secret identity shows, and you're just like, just tell them your secret identity, please. Stop with the fake drama.
Yeah.
They had some opportunities to do that, and they did it, and it made me really happy. Like I like when shows status quo evolves, and they definitely are moving forward on that. And I think that's one of the things that made me go from liking the show to falling in love with it. And it's really good. The music continues to be good, and there's an episode most recently where Zoe sort of gets in her own head and winds up starting to sing. And it just kind of comes out of her, which causes no end of problems. But we also get to see the later character sing, and she's great. And so that was a lot of fun, too. So they're mixing things up. They're moving all the plot lines forward. The song and dance stuff is really good. And the characters are all really good. I'm very much into this. And the more I've sort of been letting it lie fallow for a little bit, and I went through and binged like 4 episodes and just fell right back in love with it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching more of it. So I was glad to hear you speak well of the rest of, or the latter half of the season so far.
It's been It's been a good year for network comedies. Like there was Zoe's, not just comedies, but Stumptown. What's the other one? The Unicorn over on CBS.
Perfect Harmony was good.
Perfect
Which
Harmony.
we actually haven't talked about yet, the Unicorn. I was looking at our list.
Yeah, that's right. We should at some point, which before CBS All Access expires, since Picard's no longer on, I should catch back up on that.
If you want to, while everybody still has CBS All Access, everybody being the three of us, I don't know what the rest of you fucks are doing. But
did any of you guys check out Interrogation?
I have not yet, but I did watch. I was going to watch that today because while we still got it, but I did watch the premiere of The Good Fight's new season, and they do a one-off. So The Good Fight premiered originally with Donald Trump's winning the election, and Christine Baranski's character going fuck, and so this season they opened with an alternate reality where like the movie Yesterday's, where she's the only one that remembers Trump winning, and she's 4 years into, like, they're coming up on re-election cycle for Hillary's second term.
Can I go to that world?
You'd think so.
It's an option in Westworld, actually.
They actually do. It's worth checking out. It's not how the whole season's going to go. They flip back to it immediately, and they're going to have a whole arc this season. But she realizes that, like, her highly prestigious law firm is the law firm for Harvey Weinstein, who is a friend of the president and has a Medal of Freedom.
Oh, man.
And there is no such thing as a Me Too movement. And she tries to start it and gets told by, like, the re-election committee, like, shut the fuck up.
I love how you wait till me and Randy are laughing, and then you go, and then there's no Me Too movement. You guys are still laughing.
Gotcha. No,
gotcha.
But it was a neat episode. That's the new season, I think 4th season of The Good Fight. It was interesting. Like, I sat down to watch it of, like, I could use this in my week right now, and then, like, you sons of bitches with your gut punch.
And then, Les, you also watched an entire season of Ryan Murphy's American Horror Story, right?
I really did. So everybody has shows they try to watch with their partner, and then you get off schedule from each other, and then you'll end up sitting down with a block of time where you both just want to veg because there's, like, a generalized anxiety thing going around with the whole plague. And so we threw on a show that neither of us were watching that we both looked interested in. And I haven't watched American Horror Story really since the Coven season, which is like the 3rd or 4th season. So this is season 9 now, people. Like, there have been years of American Horror Story that I couldn't get into and give a fuck about. But they did a 1984 summer camp season. And it is somewhere between a legit horror movie and Wet Hot American Summer, and I'm so there for it. It is. It's the first American Horror Story season I've cared about in years. It is also I think maybe their best yet since the first Haunted House season. Honestly,
where does it fall with something like Cabin in the Woods? That's the vibe I'm getting, or like Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
It made me immediately. There's a movie out called You Might Be the Killer, and it made me immediately want to go watch that again, which that is also a blast with Allison Hannigan.
Is that on Shudder?
It is not. It is not. I was very mad. I thought it was. It was at Fantastic Fest a couple of years ago, and it's on a variety of things that you can watch if you have a cable subscription, but I don't. So, but anyway, American Horror Story, there's a moment in, like, the halfway through the season where it seems like it wraps so completely that we were like, it literally at the credits, like, how can this possibly move forward? Like, that is a season finale. And then there's a back half of craziness that's amazing.
You know, for all that I've got my issues with Ryan Murphy, and I do, the guy makes very compelling TV. I've been watching a little bit of Glee for the first time ever, and it's got its issues, but it's interesting. He did, of course,
those early seasons of Glee were really good. I've watched them; they're great.
When he's at his heights,
yeah, I watched those too.
People vs. O.J. Simpson is really, really good. And then I think we all liked. What was the president? The one that he did from Netflix. That was his first.
Oh man, I like The Politician. Yeah,
The Politician. That was really good. So he's got. I mean, he's got some lurid tendencies. But and he's got a new one coming up from Netflix in a couple months here. So,
what did you just say, Randy? Did you say lurid sentences?
I said lurid tendencies.
Lurid tendencies. Sorry, I thought you were.
Well, and
this was like some new turn of phrase.
On anything that runs 9 years, I don't know how day-to-day hands-on. I don't know if AHS 1984 is the show that Murphy and Fallonchuk, or whoever his partner is,
Right.
are on, we're on day to day, or if this has now been taken over by a creative team that came up on seasons 2 and 3 or something. At this point, they might have fully.
Do they always call it AHS?
No,
or is it because of the VHS?
I think so. So this year they called it AHS 1984, and the intro. It's usually their intros are genuinely creepy. Like they do something with the sound or something that actually makes the hair on my neck stand up. Where I'm like, oh god, the AHS intro. Which is effective horror. This year they kind of abandoned that for a kind of lurid, gory 80s slasher movie mixed with VHS tape labels and ads. There's a lot of aerobics, and I can't believe I'm speaking this highly of what seems like just trash. I mean, it's made to look like trash television. It's a blast. It's on Hulu, all of it.
And then you're
Nice.
Also, and I can't believe this, watching Friday Night Lights for the first time ever.
Yes. I am.
How did you get through ATX TV Fest without it ever coming up that you have not seen Friday Night Lights? Because it gets talked about all the time there.
Don't bring it up because I never missed. I went to, it's probably 40. I don't think we ever made the playoffs ever in high school, but I went to 40 football games then or so. As a band member, I sat through all of them. I barely understand a lick about that game. Don't give any fucks about it.
Cool flex, Les.
And yeah, I was a band nerd. It just, when there was a giant television show about the parts of high school that I didn't dig the first time around, I didn't know. It just didn't seem that appealing.
That makes sense.
And then when people would bring up stuff about it to me that was like amazing to them, it was a little like people telling you King of the Hill jokes, and you just going like, yeah, that's not jokes. That's just like a Fire Ant episode. Yeah, okay.
Those people.
Yeah, so when people were like, I can't believe they care about football, this was like, yes, they fucking do. Yes. No, that kid is definitely paralyzed for life. And yes, the whole town is mad at his family for suing. And no one understands what the fuck they're talking about on the bill. Yes, it is this, like, there are signs up on the businesses that say close, see you at the football game. Like,
so, but aside from the verisimilitude, are you liking it? Because I like you. I could give two shits about high school football.
So I avoided it for all of those punk ass reasons. Like, honestly, like it's the same reasons that you would be petty and not go to your reunion or something. Like, at some point, let it go and enjoy what you enjoy. And I sat down and watched Friday Night Lights and set aside the like. Yeah, no, I know all this.
Yeah.
And it's, Jesus Christ, that's a well acted, well shot.
It's so good.
Weirdly shot. Like, I shouldn't like this much shaky cam. It should really irritate. Like, I've stopped watching shows for aping something
for
similar to this.
Cams than this.
Right? Wouldn't kick them out of bed for shaking cams. But I can't believe the look of it, the amount of like home video vibe that this thing has, and how well acted all of this is. It was a little difficult for a couple of episodes to not want to scream that Landry was going to kill everyone in the room. Because I saw Breaking Bad before watching Friday Night Lights, and holy crap, that he's so fun as Landry, but he's such a terrible character in Breaking Bad.
That's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Wait till you get to season 2.
Wait,
so
is that the guy from Black Mirror?
Yes. It's also the shithead captain from Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Guys,
Jesse
I have to
Plemons.
admit, I've never seen Friday Night Lights before.
What?
I can't believe I'm going to recommend it, but I really will. Like, it is really good television.
It's
I've seen Blue Mountain State. I've seen Varsity Blues.
So I have seen Varsity
Blue in the
Blues.
title?
No, I'm not joking. I conflated Varsity Blues with this for years.
I get that. Yeah.
I sincerely, like, I brought up a plot point, and Fanny was like, no, that's not in Friday night. What are you thinking of? I'm like, oh Christ, that's Varsity Blues. It was like, who has a little brother that's super obsessed with religion? Like, nope, that is not this.
Yeah,
That's Remember the Titans.
Right.
The Blind Side?
When does the whole team die?
Yeah.
That's Marshall.
Yeah, the character stuff here is really good. It's kind of like Sports Night wasn't really about sports. You know,
That's exactly it. Or the league is. You don't have to like fantasy. You don't have to play fantasy football to think the league is funny.
It's the league. That's
yeah.
It's exactly that.
And I avoided watching the league for a couple of seasons and missed out for a year because I didn't give a shit about fantasy football. And same here. If you've got a chip on your shoulder about it at all, or it doesn't look interesting to you, I would recommend at least checking out a couple of episodes. It's just well done TV.
So speaking of the league, Les, you have a new interview coming out soon.
We do. See, we're recording this on Wednesday, so here in a couple of days on Friday, I'm going to sit down with Jeff Schaefer, who created the league and also co-created Dave. He is the, as I understand it, I'm sure we'll get clarified on Friday, but as I understand it, he's the television experience brought in to help mold Lil Dicky's personality and everything into an actual half-hour sitcom.
And he's also got a Netflix show, Bruise Brothers, which is our docket.
Yes, and all of Bruise Brothers. So the episode will come out, I believe, next Wednesday, and coinciding with Dave's 9th episode. And all of Bruise Brothers is on Netflix right now, which is about two.
Real quick, it's Bruise Brothers, like Brews.
Yes, yeah, it's two.
Randy sounded like he was saying Blues Brothers. You sounded like the Bruce Brothers.
Bruce Brothers.
Brew.
Kyle, we're having
Brew.
Zoom troubles with you tonight.
Oh,
You're gonna be hearing things.
What show is that? The Bruise Brothers?
Bruise Brothers. It's about two mismatched brothers who start up a brewery together.
And then one thing we're going to call out to people: there is a live stream going on. Is this going to be after we publish this? Is it tomorrow night?
It is tomorrow night. It's going to be.
So
no, I'm sorry.
So that's a day before we publish this.
I believe it is going to be Friday, yes.
Okay. So if you listen to us right as our show goes live, there is a live stream by the cast of That Thing You Do.
7 p.m. Eastern, so it's 6 p.m. our time.
And what are they rewatching? Are they watching the movie together?
I believe so. They have so you can go over to YouTube and look for The Wonders, WONDERS, not the Oneaters.
The Oneaters.
Yeah, it's The Wonders. Drop that Oneater thing. And they have started a YouTube channel that really doesn't have a whole lot on it. You can set a reminder for That Thing You Do watch party. So I am thinking what they're going to do is it's going to be a live streamed watch party of the entire movie with the entire band talking about it.
And that's Tom Everett Scott. That's Steve Zahn.
Steve Zahn.
God, who else is in there?
Ethan Embry and Jonathan Shake.
Yeah.
Who's the kid from Gone in 60 Seconds? Who's in it?
Nicolas Cage.
Who's like the drummer that
That's Steve Zahn.
Nicolas Cage's little brother. Oh, Steve Zahn, my bad.
Steve Zahn, right?
Yeah, Steve Zahn. Yeah. Yeah, and so they've gotten the band back together once before, but Zahn wasn't there. They had somebody else, another comedian, basically fill in for him. But this time, I think Ethan Embry posted up about it. It's the whole band. Liv Tyler's also going to be there.
Oh, nice.
Wouldn't shock me if crazier guests drop in.
Like Tom Hanks?
I seriously wouldn't. He directed it, and he also is in the movie, so it wouldn't shock me if Hanks was in it.
And he ganked that Playtone logo for his production company.
He did. You know, he's got some love for it.
Playtone Records, the logo they used in the movie, he was like, oh, I like that. So now his film company just uses the same logo and name.
I love That Thing You Do. It's a great movie.
Yeah, and, I need to rewatch it. I haven't seen it in years.
I totally get why Ethan Embry has said in interviews that by the end of production they were done with that song, like never wanted to hear it again.
Yeah, I get that.
But it is a pretty great song. It actually charted
charted all in its pants.
Yep, it charted itself. Yep, and Adam Schlesinger who wrote that gem.
All right, so we're going to go over and talk about a little segment that we like to do every now and then. Margot Martindale is character actor Margot Martindale is presenting. I'm sorry. Hold on just a second.
Don't tell me not this again, guys.
Okay.
We really got to lock down some type of solid endorsement deal here.
Character actor Margot Martindale is definitely not in my room holding a gun to my head and telling me not to put her name on this thing. That's definitely not what's happening. But
it's like we're getting paid to not talk about people.
But in other news, I won $5 with the bet I had with Randy that Margot Martindale did not use process servers and would come herself.
But just in case, that were to happen, I think our backup for this week should be her BoJack Horseman co-star Will Arnett, who should sign on and present the TV Dudes Power Rankings presented by the TV Dudes. Kyle, take it away.
Yeah, this is where we talk about the shows that we talked about last week, and we let you know where they fall in the course of every single show we've talked about this year. And how do we do that? Well, we scour the internet. We find all the numbers that are out there. We go to IMDb, Metacritic, and then we even pull the audience score from Rotten Tomatoes and the critic score. And we get this 400-point ranking. And, you guys remember what we talked about last week? There's a lot of food shows.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, we got cooking.
And after this week, I've instituted a new category, which is our insufficient data category.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so you see, when you got your average food show out there that doesn't get Game of Thrones level praise in terms of like people talking about on the internet, yeah, there's not a lot of information out there. So some of the shows we talked about, actually 4 of the 5 shows we talked about last week had 0 somewhere just from a blank page that hadn't been populated yet.
Yep.
Most of the time it tends to be Metacritic. This famously is what happened to Letterkenny, which despite all that, still isn't in last place. There's 3 shows behind it.
But just nobody... See, if they'd gotten to do the live tour, man, everybody'd be talking about them. They'd be world famous.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I did look. I got excited for a second because they do have a high audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. There's just no critic reviews on there.
Huh.
But the shows that we talked about last week, Good Eats Reloaded, that had 3 zeros. So, fortunately, it still has a higher ranking than Desert Flippers, which, yeah, another, one of my ladies of the night that I brought into the whole mix here with you guys. Bear with me. Then above that, sad enough, Chef's Show Season 3, which Season 1 and 2 have rankings. I'm thinking it hasn't been out long enough.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's our bottom 5 right there now. Chef's Show, Letterkenny, October Faction, Good Eats Reloaded, Desert Flippers. And
what a claim to fame.
Yeah.
And then not too high above it is number 42, Top Chef Season 17.
That surprises me.
239. That it would do worse than Duncanville.
Yeah, that surprises me.
And what else is above it?
Nailed it as 2 above that.
Yep, at number 40 with a 247. I was actually kind of surprised, especially since Chef Show didn't have any love. Mm-hmm. Ugly Delicious had quite a few people talking about it online. All the pages had a bunch of reviews.
Yeah, I think it's because it's a little artsier, a little more serious. I think that might be why it got more attention.
Remembering from trying to tag our post last week, I believe Ugly Delicious had a better or easier to find social media presence as well.
Oh, okay.
Just straight up easier to tag.
It's all politics.
It's really weird sometimes when networks don't have... Like, there's just some shows where you'll find a lot of mentions of it when you search for it on Facebook or on Twitter, but no actual tag or page. I'm like, what the shit?
Wasn't there also only like 4 episodes in Season 2 of Ugly Delicious?
Yeah, it was small.
So it's like he's not even putting in full-time work. This is like a part-time job for him. And he's got number 20 on our list. There you go, breaking into the number 20, kicking out The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina that has a 303 versus its 309. Little Netflix feuding happening over there.
They're cannibalizing. It's like having Starbucks on multiple corners.
Right above it, though, is Star Trek Picard and Devs, which I didn't mention next week because I'm going to see if you guys don't want to talk about it a little bit next week. Or I didn't mention it this week.
I need to catch up on that so we can talk about it next week.
We're definitely going to talk about the wrap-up of Devs.
Yeah.
It's got one more to go.
in our number 18 spot at 214, or 314. And then 17 is I'm Not Okay With This. We all really like that. Stumptown and High Fidelity right above that at the 16 and 15 spot. I'm not going to do the whole list, but give you a little taste.
We'll get a list by the end of the year where people can see the power rankings and they'll compare it to our best of, which will probably be very different.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, right. I'm already seeing that.
Just a reminder that we have a Patreon, and we want to say thank you to all our Patreon subscribers. You can go help us keep up with our streaming networks and our web hosting. Throw us a buck an episode. That really helps us out, and you get bonus episodes every week. This week, and the next few weeks, we're doing Director Mashup, where we take what might happen if famous directors directed other famous films. You can check us out at patreon.com/tvdudes. And if you're feeling really, really excited about something, throw us $20. You get to put a show on our radar if it's not already on our radar. And that's what Charles Armstrong did. And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, it's like if you don't believe that we'll do that, we're about to prove it to you. If we didn't prove it to you with that little preamble at the beginning of the show, we're going to prove to you that we'll watch anything.
All right.
So I did want to mention one thing. Even though Metacritic and some of the hoity-toity places aren't talking about Desert Flippers, we did. Thank you very much. And and Kyle has done his level best for a year to get us all watching more HDTV, which I think we know where the real money is coming from Mr. Kyle Scott. But our phones, folks, we have been chatting about these shows back and forth on a little TV Dudes text thread, and often Desert Flippers becomes Dessert Flippers. And I will say there have been a couple times where I have imagined like the Flip Cup dessert nailed it competition blend show where like people would stand with like little plates half off of tables and like cakes on them that look good at the start, and they gotta flip the whole thing like and land dessert flippers and like it's got to be mostly on the plate like edible.
You know what a baller move is in dessert flippers though? You make a pineapple upside down cake.
Oh snap!
Oh, for the win!
All right, I'm going to put 3 minutes on the clock because Les and I have agreed. And Kyle, I don't know where you are on anime, but Les and I have agreed to not spend this entire segment bitching about how much we hate anime. But we did allow ourselves a little bit of dessert right up front, a little bit of dessert flipping, and we're going to take 3 minutes to talk about why we don't watch a lot of anime, and go. All right.
All right, Randy, you want to start?
So
you guys are wasting your minutes.
Here's the thing. I don't hate animation. Like I like animation. I love Avatar: Last Airbender. I like Cowboy Bebop. I watched Akira like everybody else in college in my day. Like I don't hate anime, but anime for me, every premise of anime that I've ever heard is like this. It's like, oh, so what's this one about? Oh, well, she's a professional ice skater, and her rival is a romantic rival, and also her rival ice skater. Oh, okay. And also, when they get hit by water, they turn into demons. Oh, okay. And the demons are actually representations of, and it's 4 levels past crazy every single premise. And also, I'm like, okay, well, how long is this? Oh, it's 7,000 episodes and still going.
And there's 4 novels, and some of them aren't canon, and there's 300 manga issues alongside those. But you don't want to watch those, and definitely watch the subtitle ones because the dubbed ones are actually a whole different plot line. Yeah, no, these are all reasons. I also don't really like the art style of it, like the pointy face features and everything that have taken over a lot of other art.
You don't like my 8th grade anime drawings?
I really don't. It all looks like 8th grade anime drawings to me. It doesn't have to get better. It's not asked to get better to be part of the look, and I'm just it puts me in a get off my lawn, you weird fucking anime position. I also watched Akira and Vampire Hunter D and Ninja Scroll and
Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah. Fooly Cooly is great, but all anime seem to have the plot logic of a 5-year-old explaining an acid trip. And
yeah,
and
it is like Japanese acid.
And like slow motion, like, I will hit you with my fist. You were my brother once. We will take 5 minutes to explain all of the exposition in the world while my fist goes backwards into sliding lines. This is animation. And like yeah, did we hit 3 minutes yet? Because I could just sit here and fume silently.
We have a minute left. Kyle, go ahead.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Yeah, no, the whole thing, like, it looks like 8th graders drew it. It kind of also sounds like 8th graders wrote it. Although, like, there's some of the words where I'm like, okay, an 8th grader wouldn't know what that word meant. But I don't know if it's a cultural thing. But yeah, it does seem like children's entertainment, but like that's the vessel at which it's delivered. But then behind it, there's a story about vampires and zombies and shit you wouldn't want to talk to kids about.
And
That
also,
is
there's
like
usually sex
King
and
Lear
violence.
serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's there's the reverse hype man in here
10
because
seconds.
shit.
Yeah. So anyway,
this.
anime is too serious and weird, and I just never got into it.
Yeah, not generally my thing. However, this show, again,
So-
we had a patron throw us the $20, and also I have a dear friend, one of my best friends, who this is like her favorite thing. She's cosplayed it. She has been harping on me, despite knowing I'm not an anime fan, all over, all the time. The same way I harangue people about Terriers, she's been haranguing me about JoJo. So the fact that I had to watch 10 episodes of this made her so unbelievably happy.
So for me, the knowing that there's that.
what is this show again for people who might be tuning in?
Yes, I suppose we should say.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventures.
So it is I guess the basic premise of it is that it is a family of people named Joestar as their last name.
Yep.
And we start with Jonathan Joestar, and his family has always kept this weird stone mask for some reason.
So yeah,
and that's all we know.
I started watching this, and it is about Jonathan Joestar, and an event happens that leads to Dio, a man named Dio or a boy named Dio, being adopted alongside.
Ding! That's our
alongside
first
him.
80s rock reference.
Right.
Sorry.
Yes.
I have to just chime in every time.
Yes.
It happens.
So he's adopted into their house, and this is a like 17th, 18th century, 19th century, something like that. Is a upstairs downstairs type,
19th century.
family manor. There's a girl that Joestar likes, but he's too shy to be with her, and Dio makes his entrance.
Ariana, is that her name?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, and
Arena.
Irina.
Yeah.
Joe.
Erina.
Dio makes his first entrance, and he kicks his dog. Mm-hmm. Like he's awful, and he's awful and prideful.
And I gotta say, JoJo was kind of a little bitch about it afterwards.
Oh
though.
sure, but like
why are you gonna kick my
But
dog?
I was like, okay, how long do I have to wait till Dio gets kicked in the balls? And so I'm like, oh man, I don't know about this. It's anime. It's like 19th century period piece. It's got people harming dogs. Like this is totally not what I want. Like I was like, man, I don't know if I'm in for 10 episodes of period piece drama. And then at beginning of episode 2, I guess this mask thing comes in.
A little.
Well,
like
and
a
we got to
tiny
see the
bit.
mask at the end of, or at the beginning of episode 1.
Yes, we see that at least
also-
the claw legs pop out.
There was the big shocker at the end of episode 1. We found out that former TV dude, Greg J. Armani Smith,
Yep.
he did the closing music to this. Did you hear that?
It does sound. it's got a funky bass line. Although
There was like just a total tonal shift at the end of the episode.
Yeah, they use roundabout for their end credits.
roundabout from by yes, right? Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
yeah. It's such a weird, jarring thing.
So for the first 2 full episodes, basically, like you see the mask's legs pop out, which is creepy and
Yeah.
weird, and I watch some slow shows. That's enough to keep me going for a little bit.
Also, it's weird that
Otherwise-
he would go, "Oh, I know how to kill him. I'm going to put the mask on him. Then I'm going to smear blood on
Yeah.
it, and then the
Yeah.
mask is going to stab him, and then I'm going to get away with killing him."
But for the first 2 episodes, all we see is this fucked up Jane Austen with like a Dune, like a David Lynch's Dune whisper scream dynamic. Like everything is either like the calmest thing that you have ever said to anyone, or you must fight me for kissing my girl. Like
The sun will not set until your blood has
so
spilt
not-
upon the ground
and-
we walk.
And I was like, okay, somebody has talked us into watching, like, somebody took anime dynamics and applied it to Tyler Perry's The Have and the Have-Nots, or something like that.
I thought we were
and-
being trolled for a minute. Like, I
Yeah.
really thought, I was like, is this a real thing?
Like Tommy Wiznow's anime. Like, this is what, oh, hi, Mark. And
Dio, you betray me.
yeah, oh, hi, Mark. Yeah, totally. And then episode 3, we really see the mask take. And Kyle's exactly right. The lack of research that Dio does of just like, fuck it, I think I see how the mask works. Let's see what it does. He has this plan that it's gonna kill. If he had done that, he'd have made JoJo the most powerful thing on the planet. If he'd done his actual plan.
Yeah.
He basically on his way, just out of nowhere, he makes this random dude that he beats the crap out of a vampire by using this creepy mask.
Yeah.
And then from there it just snowballs. Like,
yeah, he becomes this super powerful vampire lord and starts making monsters and
different varieties of monsters that from people he grabs throughout history. Like there's like at least 3 or 4 variants of zombie vampire somethings, and they have to have their brains melted completely.
There's Jack historically
yes,
there's historically accurate knights.
Yes, they use 2 knights it's so from like Mary Queen of Scots. There's the fights like teach lessons about like honor and the soul, and then also you have a whole lot of weird classic rock references. We meet Baron Zeppeli.
Baron
it's
Zeppeli.
Really, it's very close to Zeppelin. I'm going to count it.
But the first one that showed up that got me was like, wait a minute, that character say his name is Ario Speedwagon?
Yes, Robert E.O. Speedwagon.
Hi, the name's Richard E.O. Speedwagon. I'm at your service. I hated you when we first met, but then you didn't want to hurt me, so I like to cut your jet,
character
kid.
is fantastic. This show moves at a fucking crazy pace. Like, for 2 episodes of Jane Austen slowness, once things start going, like, you'll have nothing happen to feel like nothing happens for 15 minutes, and then like plot points so huge that if you looked away and looked back, you wouldn't know what was going on at all.
For sure.
Well, and we haven't even gotten into the meat and bones, which this is like a high energy power fighting show.
Oh my God.
The character's just trying to unlock power up after power up.
Yes, something called Hamon energy. Hamon is how it gets, which is like the same. I really love their explanation of how this works. They can call this energy, which is the same vibrational wavelength kind of chi energy stuff as sunlight. And that's why it works against the vampires.
Yeah,
and conversely, like that's why sunlight works against them too. And I was like, okay, that's cool.
Sun overdrive.
Oh my God! But the shit they yell is Dragon Ball Z nuts.
I get a little Street Fighter vibe too.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that. It's like, and everybody's big and bulky. It's
it's got Fist of the North Star weirdness to it. Like everybody's proportions are fucked up.
And so we watched. Here's the other crazy thing. There's 2 episodes of Jane Austen. And then there's 6 episodes. So Charles asked us to watch 10. And I was like, why 10? As I started to get into it, the next 6, I'm like, okay, I feel like I've got the sense of this. Like, why 10? And so you watch about 6 episodes, and then there's a big climactic finale with Joestar and Dio. And
well, I realized it about 6 episodes in, after we had fully gotten out of the Jane Austen, and then we had a couple episodes where I was like, well, now it's just kind of a fight show, and I'm actually less interested in this than the weird ass Jane Austen fight. And then I actually got into like, no, I kind of want to see him beat Dio. He better not chase Dio for 400 episodes. Like, I want to see this resolve. And then I realized, holy fuck, it's about to. And he in episode
it's 8
and 9, he comes to fight Dio. I mean, they fight Dio a couple of times to get the shit kicked out of him.
There's a freaking scene where he's like, I'm gonna sacrifice myself and kill you, Dio. And he jumps at Dio, grabs him with the arms into like a flaming turret. And then they're like slow motion. It's like, as long as I can hold on to him for 3 seconds until we smack the ground. And it's like, oh no, he grabs onto a brick and then he falls off. And like slow motion, he's falling, but then he catches him. And this is like an entire episode. They're falling down this chimney. And you're just like getting the voiceover like, if only I can find something to catch on to.
The blood in my veins has been frozen and I can no longer move the Hamon energy. I'm like, okay, out of all you Tibetan monks in the thousands of years that you've been perfecting your Hamon energy, like this happens so often where their blood gets stopped from moving or their breath gets stopped even for a second, and then they are screwed and utterly surprised by it every time. Like, oh my gosh, they've mildly constricted my chest. How will I? Like, dude, this happened to you 3 days ago, and then 2 days before that, and like,
Yeah, even
There's no oxygen underwater.
Even
oh wait,
accomplished
maybe if I
monk-
lift up this rock.
even accomplished monk Ton Petty cannot deal with it.
Master Ton Petty.
We climbed to the top of the summit and met with Master Monk Tom Petty.
So,
It's like you think you're being trolled when you hear that.
yeah, like, and the other thing is, it doesn't bring, like, there's also the bad guy who's named after the Doobie Brothers, is it? Is it Doobie?
Oh my God,
Doobie?
yes.
Like,
Oh, I didn't catch that one.
but none of them have anything
With
to
a-
do
with
with
a
any
bag
of this
full of
classic
snakes?
rock. Like, none of them have, there's
No.
it's just, they just name them that.
It's not like the Postman. It's not like it is Tom Petty. Or it's
No,
it's
no, it's
yeah.
just
the
they
theme
have those
song's
names.
kind of 80s metal, you know.
Yeah,
Nah, Joe Star.
But there's no references here. That, I mean, they bring in they had Robert Plant and all those guys, like, but it's just names. It's such a weird. It's like it's clearly like the creator just thought it was a fun nod. That's it.
So beyond the weirdness of the Jane Austenness and the fights, which I expected, and which are for anime style, like this thing definitely has panache. I was not prepared for the depth of villain that Dio is.
He's such a dick.
So, well, okay, first of all, the way their vampires work are just, they don't have to bite you. They just snake their fingers under your skin
Yeah.
and pull your blood.
Yeah.
Which is just so much creepier to watch him run his fingers under somebody's neck
Very
and pull all their...
sexual, if you ask me.
So gross.
Yeah.
And then separately, at one point, a mother is holding her baby and begs to, okay, fine, you can kill me, but spare the child. And he
Yeah.
says, I won't touch a hair on the kid's head. He turns her into a vampire, and then she eats the baby.
Yeah, that's awful. It's so bad.
Like,
In his defense, he did toy with her before he died and said, "You sure you don't want to make the baby a zombie too?"
It's so, it's, you want him to lose. So by the time JoJo really, not JoJo, by the time Jonathan really fights him, he has to lose.
Yeah, because Dio's...
When they split him in half and he realigns his fucking face, though.
Yes.
There's
Or when he's-
one episode where Jonathan fights the whole episode with basically a feral kid on his back,
yeah.
Yeah.
like literally hanging onto his back. He fights the whole fight.
He's about to die. He's falling off the side of a building, and Dio goes, "Oh, if only I could just move my hand." And then he moves his hand, and he chops his own head off. And then in the next episode, we see him in a Futurama head jar.
Yeah, so that's the thing I want to talk about, is that the reason Charles wanted us to watch 10 episodes is that we see a thing that happens, is that it jumps to, like, is it 1920s New York?
Yeah, 20s New York, 19. So
Tommy
we
guns.
jump ahead one generation.
And yeah, it's Joestar's grandson, and
It's Jonathan's. Is it Jonathan's
It's
grandson?
Joseph Joestar. Or yeah,
Joseph
Jonathan's
Joestar,
grandson.
Yeah.
So JoJo.
And so clearly that it sort of is going to move in time. And my friend Mandy did say, she's like, I wouldn't start with this. I would have started you with the Stardust Crusaders series, which I think you'd like better. And I'm like, okay, does that mean they like to go into space at some point? Like, I don't know what all that means, but clearly they keep sort of evolving the concept and following the generations of these characters.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like they'll be Cloud Atlas like 300 years into the
Yeah.
future here pretty soon.
I don't have any interest in watching Dio and Joestar fight for 300 more episodes, to be honest with you, but I didn't hate watching this.
Well, at this point, I think it's Spazzo.
Spizzo.
Yeah, I was looking through the...
It's the guy that took over for Master Tom Petty is now the vampire. And now there's like a shitload of masks. There's like 20 masks at least. Because I was like, why would you ever go back to this cave in Mexico? Like all Zeppelin. God, we watched 10 of these. Yeah, so anyway, I got super into it and I don't want to watch anymore.
Can I speculate a little bit on the future of JoJo? Because I got some theories.
By all means.
I mean, it ain't TV Dudes if we don't have our TV Dudes theories.
It's true.
All right? Did you guys notice that Joseph Joestar, grandson of Jonathan Joestar, his hairstyle kind of looked a little bit like Dio Brando?
You think
He had, like,
Scandal!
He had, like,
Drama!
darker hair, but like Dio Brando style. I'm just saying. But I'm not saying. Hashtag
Drama.
Saying. Not saying.
That does seem like the kind of thing that would happen, too. Reveal, you are not his grandson, you are my grandson.
You thought for once you had a grandson, and that son would be grand, but he was not your grandson, nor was he grand at all, but he was mine.
It really, it's not quite Mojo Jojo, but it's pretty close.
Man, I wish y'all listeners could have been in on the text chat of Les and Kyle, Joestar speaking to each other.
Yeah.
8 a.m. this morning.
Yes.
We started with it.
It was amazing.
I'm Kylo Brando.
Les Lestar.
And I am Randy
O. Speedwagon.
Randy O. Speedwagon.
So thank you, Charles. You've definitely made an impact here. This would never have crossed our radar.
I so much enjoyed watching that, and I could not have been made to otherwise.
I did a little searching today, and I found a couple, but they're for like later episodes. But I want to take one of these first 10 episodes we found, and I want to do a Patreon where we read the script.
Man, yeah, we should table read it, JoJo. Randy has the comics at the store.
Oh my gosh, this would be so fun.
Yep, that may have to happen. All right, so let's change gears a little bit and talk about some dramas that are a little less crazy than JoJo.
A little less telegraphed.
although one of them is pretty crazy. So I'm going to start with the one that's actually just a drama, and that is Little Fires Everywhere. It's based on a novel by Celeste Ng, and it's a Hulu original, but it's like an ABC signature. Like, I don't know if it was originally supposed to be a Hulu original or if it was originally going to be an ABC, and they moved it. But this is a sort of a 90s period drama about Shaker Heights, Ohio. There's this sort of rich woman with 4 kids. She winds up renting a room to an African-American woman and her kid who have been living out of their car. She's an artist. And it is all about sort of privilege and wealth and class and race, and it is fascinating. It took me a couple episodes to get into it, but once I got into it, I'm now 7 episodes in. I'm caught up to where they are, and man, it is very compelling. Kyle, you started watching this before I did. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I thought I had a really strong pilot. You know, I got to the end of the pilot, my heart was just pounding, and I was like, I don't know how you can binge this, But yeah, I kind of paced them out. I'm not all the way into 7. I think we got 5 of them. We're in 5 right now.
Okay.
And gosh, this is one of those shows that like every scene poses a question. It's like for every answer you get to one of the questions posed, there's like 2 more questions that are thrown out there.
Well, the other thing I like is it starts as like just a drama about these 2 women and how they mother and that kind of thing, and then we start to unravel their backstories. And there's a twist thrown in about a baby that's basically sort of been kidnapped, sort of, and there's some weirder drama stuff that goes on, and we start seeing more of their backstories. Every episode opens with a backstory of one of the characters when they were younger, and we start to get a deeper look at like what is motivating them and what has made them the people they are, and why Kerry Washington's character is so kind of bitter and distrustful, and why Reese Witherspoon's character is so set in her ways and so fragile about change and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I also think the writing is super sharp.
It is.
There's a moment in the first episode where, we're introduced to Kerry Washington's character living out of her car, and the rich woman played by
Reese Witherspoon.
Reese Witherspoon, she calls the cops. She's like, "Hey, there's some people in a car here. Let's get them out." And then in the next scene, sure enough, they're the people who she's showing this house to that she has to rent to. So initially, she has this guilt, and that I think is what compels her to rent to them where she may not have otherwise. And she finds herself in situations like that at every turn, and I think it's really clever how the writing goes. Like she makes the decisions she makes because as we find out who she is as a person, she doesn't really have any other choice. Like she would rather do something that's going to bite her in the ass later than, have an awkward silence or a conversation about race or sexuality or gender and or a lot of other things they bring up in this show.
I think they do a good job of making her seem, she's sympathetic. Like, she does mean well. She is trying to use her privilege to help others, but she's such a sort of busybody and she's such a controlling person that she kind of winds up harming everyone around her. Her relationship with her youngest daughter Izzy is so toxic, and part of that is Izzy's fault, but a lot of it is her character's fault. And also, I think that the relationships between mothers and daughters here are really good. The kid actors are all really good. Like they found some great kid actors here.
Also, this show does a really good job exploring those ideas that are in the forefront with the adult characters about race and privilege. It does a really good job exploring it with the kids because we get some role reversals. Kerry Washington's character's daughter, there's some situations where she's a little naive to certain race things, which I'm like, for somebody growing up in a car, that's a little suspension of disbelief there. But she is the one who's like seduced by the rich white kids, and it's like, ooh, let's hang out, and this is fun. Whereas like, there's some other kids in the high school who are like, don't be cool with this just because you want to fit in.
Yeah, I also think that there's something about a novel being adapted to TV that sometimes works really well, and I think they did a really good job adapting this. I haven't read the novel, but in watching this, I'm like, I got about 3 episodes in, I'm like, wait a minute, this is a novel, isn't it? Because it feels like the depth of character and the heavy use of flashback, where they cast other actors for the flashback so that you actually see younger versions rather than trying to make up Reese Witherspoon to look like she's in her 20s. And they did a really good job of adapting a novel to TV here, and I found it very bingeable, even with the dark subject matter. I found it very bingeable. It reminds me of HBO's Big Little Lies or Sharp Objects, that kind of thing. It is definitely in that vein, I think.
Yeah, I was surprised it wasn't the writer from Big Little Lies when we started.
No, it's Liz Tiglar, who did Casual for Hulu previously.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Man, I love Casual.
I did too. And this has got that same sort of melancholy vibe. That it's of a piece with what she has done before. So yeah, this one of those. It's not necessarily for everybody. Like it is straightforward, just like it's 90s, but it's basically modern drama. Like it is not. There's no genre twist here. There's not there's no crime element to it, even though there is an arson that starts the whole thing off. It is very much a character-driven piece, but I found it really compelling.
I have a question. I was thinking about this because, whenever I watch a period piece, my first question is, why does this story have to take place in the 90s?
Yeah.
And I was wondering, do you think that, and that could be, it came from the novel, so then the question would be, why did the novel take place? But do you think the reason is that they want you to believe that this type of naiveness towards race, some of the more shocking things that some of the white characters say to the minority characters, that was more prevalent in the 90s, so they set the story back then. And maybe if this was set today, there would be some other characters going, whoa, you can't say that. Or
I 100% think that's what I mean. I don't know why. I mean, I assume the novel was set there for a reason, but well, it does say that Celeste Ng grew up in a place like Shaker Heights, Ohio, so this might have been sort of a she was writing her backstory. Mm-hmm. But I think part of it is the elements of race and that kind of thing would not work in the time period different than this. It's got that sort of slightly awakening. The 90s had a little bit of slight awakening of realizing a more subtle take of what racism was, but still that sort of not really recognizing what privilege was and all that kind of stuff. And I think that...
Well, and that's not to say these people don't still exist. There are people who still, talk like this, act like this, and are just oblivious to the world around them. But
there are things that Reese Witherspoon's character says that that a character in her particular position would never be saying right now. Like, they would know, even if they thought that, not to say it.
Like when she kept assuming all the black people knew each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like, oh, come on, this for real?
Yeah.
Wasn't there a NASCAR driver just this past week that got caught on a hot mic using the N-word.
He did. Yep.
Oh.
Yep. But that's NASCAR. You kind of expect that.
That got
Apparently, he sounded quite comfortable with it.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about let's jump over and talk about our final show, and that is Motherland Fort Salem. This is a freeform show that's wound up on Hulu.
This is also on Hulu, but we could not have picked three. I mean, we didn't pick one of them, but like three crazier things. I mean, the only thing that ties these together is that there is quite a bit of drama happening on all of them. But I mean, I was as shocked as anybody at episode 4 of Little Fires when the masked legs popped out.
No, I'm allowed.
Actually, before you say anything about Motherland, can I give you my 2-word pitch?
Yeah,
Because I distilled it down.
Okay.
It's Harry Potter meets Top Gun.
Meets Sabrina, by the way.
Well, yeah, meets Sabrina. Well, and Magicians. It meets Freeform, really.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, yeah.
Meets the new CW.
There was definitely a little bit of Sabrina here with the straightforwardly, we use Satan powers. It's just a thing. Just get on board.
Well, they've got so Motherland Fort Salem. If you haven't watched the trailer for this, you should just go out and watch the trailer at least.
For sure.
It pulls no punches about how fucked up brutal the tone of this show is. Basically, all witches were going to die in the Salem witch trials, and a witch whose descendant is still their general, basically.
Not descendant, it's her, isn't it?
It's her. I think it's her.
It's her.
Yeah, are all those old ladies walking around like the previous?
She's
That's
immortal.
cool.
So
she's immortal, and she is stealing life energy to stay alive.
And it's not even a secret. It's a conscripted thing of that's a troop of 5 old or however how many old ladies that titter behind her and give up their life energy, and it's it's the assignment you got. Like you're getting sent to Nam, you're getting sent to grow old. All witches survive by becoming basically the entire military corps. Like there's a witch corps, and so all of their descendants are conscripted. It seems like there are non-conscripted witches
living in
or
a
at least
statewide commune somewhere. Yeah.
There's people we've met people whose families are running on empty style draft dodgers living on the lam.
Yeah.
But I get the feeling that either people do survive their conscription, or at least some of these people have parents that are not currently serving.
Right.
Like a lot of people. And so I've got to wonder, I'm not quite clear on whether one person from your family has to go or one person in each generation.
Well, there's also exceptions like there is with other military families, like Saving Private Ryan, where one of the characters, her mom lost some aunts, so she got a pass because they had family that died in it, but then she said,
that she doesn't take it.
What is it? I volunteer myself for tribute, or what does Katniss say?
Yeah.
So it's part of it is that these 3 lead characters are assigned into a group. They're basically judged together, and they're going through basic training, and they're discovering what their witchy powers are, whether they're a healer or a necromancer or someone who calls down tornadoes on the foes, or a precog, and there's all kinds of different specialties that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This show
kind of push style.
This show does a really good job with very little, and I mean that they stretch their CG really good. So you just mentioned the tornado powers.
Yeah,
they get some really great scenes here that are blocked off in a way to where you can have some characters in the foreground, and you can get some really gnarly tornado effects going on the cheap.
Yeah, they really show some power. It's great.
Yeah, and it works really effectively.
And also, they're
oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the trick that they do that I think works the best is we were just talking about the general character who has kind of like a harem of older witch ladies that she's sucking the life force from. She can just speak through all of their voices at once. So
it's
for
really
creepy effect, everybody starts speaking in one hive mind voice, and it works so well.
Speaking of effects, how have I never seen anyone undisguise themselves, instead of peeling off the Mission Impossible mask or the would have got away with it too if not for you, the fire. So the spree, the terrorists that these people are fighting against, are a great villain because their method is so fucking over the top that you can't back them. That they are full of shit on their moral high ground, but the point they're trying to make is you can see how they recruit, because the conscription is wrong. Like, the military thing is wrong.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And this should not continue. But at the same time, the Spree are causing mass suicides by basically embedding suicide spells in anything that can hold air. So balloons, you have signs everywhere throughout the show whenever they're outside of the Fort Salem like basic training that say like no inflatables.
Yeah.
Like anything that can hold air could pop and release a word, and everybody.
Their method of getting people, the Spree's attacks are horrific, and like we talked a little bit about this by text last. We're like, man, the military is pretty awful. Like, they've conscripted every witch for 200 years, and it is not great. And there's a sort of totalitarian thing about it. At the same time, the foe they're facing is so sadistic that even though they're right, you kind of don't want them to win.
Yeah.
And
like, I get their point, but also they're horrible.
And the reason they're saying that is they really want you to see the parallels between this and between actual armed service, like Hurt Locker level realism.
Yeah.
There's a scene
which I
in
wasn't
an airport.
expecting.
Yeah, where you get to see everybody being super patriotic towards the witch.
Yeah.
You know, like, give her my seat on the airplane.
I think they've done some interesting stuff with, this is a freeform show, and it's got a little bit of that sort of freeformy CWE drama. So, like, there's the lead characters don't like each other. One of them is, like, driven to be, and one of them doesn't want to be there, and one of them is sort of naive, and...
You got a legacy and an outsider kid, and
and one of them thinks that her mother got her mother killed, and like there's some definite drama stuff, and I feel like they almost lean too heavy on it. Like, it almost gets to the point where I roll my eyes, but they do a pretty good job of pulling back, and I like and buy all these characters. I also love how unabashedly queer the show is. Like, it would have been easy to do metaphor for queer people, but no. One of the lead characters is gay and is in a lesbian relationship. And she meets a gay guy during the Beltane, which is the big event where the witches get together with the boys' camp, basically. And they are unapologetic about queer and sex and all that kind of stuff in a way that what was once ABC Family kind of shocked me.
Even having the Beltane ceremony, where clearly their military is drawing huge power from a once-a-year make all the cadets fuck ceremony.
Yes.
and they say it of like, we need this ceremony for the fights to come this year. This is where we draw. I mean, like, it's the fundraiser for the year, magic-wise.
Yeah.
And they still make a point of having their main character leading the whatever, drill sergeant leading the Beltane, still makes a point of saying, your unit is... Our participation is mandatory.
Yeah.
How you personally choose to participate is up to you.
Yeah.
Like, they still made a point of clarifying that, like, while yes, your unit has to show up for Beltane, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do.
There's still consent. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There's still consent. And I was like, you didn't have to make, 15 seconds of shot time for that.
It is
you didn't
kind
need
of
to set up the shot
an
for that.
Interesting predicament when you
That's
have
great.
a very gendered academy, or I guess at barracks or where they're at, and you do have same-sex relationships. Because, there's not like anybody who's like, don't do that.
Well, a couple of characters just lay out of Beltane and hang out elsewhere.
The whole show is a little bit more sophisticated and a little bit more better written than it needs to be to work. Like, this could work as a C-level drama, and it's at least B-level.
And so this is from the creator of all things Claws, which I love. I really loved Claws. Elliot Lawrence did a great job. We got to interview the cast, I think it was last year at ATX or maybe a year before. What is time? So when I saw that Elliot Lawrence was doing this, and I was like, of course your next show after a TNT nail salon Florida drug kingpin drama with Niecy Nash and Carrie Preston, and of course the next thing you do is going to be a freeform conscripted witches into the military show. The fuck?
Niecy Nash is a pretty lady.
So they talk about on Motherland, talk about Bury the Lead, episode 2, President Niecy Nash, if I remember right.
Oh, no, I don't think it was Niecy Nash. Sorry. I'm a big fan.
Who the fuck is the president?
I don't remember.
I was thinking, like, oh, that's how you know it's the future now. It can't just be a black president. It has to be a black female president. That's how we know movies are in the future.
So I do have one complaint, minor complaints, but the biggest complaint I have is this is such a fascinating concept that I wish they weren't being so stingy with the world building. Like, I want to know exactly how this core came about. Like, I would have loved to have seen a bit more of just like some flashbacks at the beginning or something, some history of, because we got the little, like, the play that they see about how it all happened, but I want to know exactly how they became this witch core, and I want to see how some of the battles happened with witches instead of army men. Like, I want to see how the Civil War played out. Like, I want more of that bigger, deeper world building stuff, and that is just not the show's raison d'etre. It is about these three girls in this world. It is not about the world.
It's Harry Potter Top Gun.
Yeah, I would love a little bit more world building stuff to it. A little
more volleyball.
Because for them, the world building, it's like the icing at the edges of everything, and I want it to be a big chunk of cake.
You know, I did love. There was one of the scenes where they showed like a witch, like Black Ops, operation where they're like going in, twirling their like little rope swings,
the scourges.
Yeah. And I did think that was really cool, like seeing them in tactical gear. Like, what's a tactical suit for a witch like? Like, the uniforms are pretty cool because you're like, how would all this work realistically? Like what would their fatigues look like? What would they be wearing around the base? Mm-hmm. And it all seems pretty believable.
Yeah, and the rope martial arts that they have to learn, the actors really did learn a fair amount of that. Oh, really? And I really like the weapon that they picked for that, which is just kind of a weird, odd martial art. Also, the way they handle the magic in the show, there's a training scene with a weird tuning fork. Basically, your unit standing around this thing of like a tuning fork of stone, and you got to sing these weird, they call them seed sounds, I guess.
Yeah.
They're seeds. And some of them are not like out of audible range and just weird. And then the combination of them makes this weird magic happen, which I thought was super cool. And the way they handle that effect, it's all they do is make a stone glow, basically, and then make this weird CG construct thing happen above in the air. But it's the same as the big matte painting kind of tornado backgrounds. Like they set the shot up and then use their money really well. Finding out about the rope thing was because of an interview that we'll release along with this episode, where we got to speak with Taylor Hickson, the actress that plays Raelle, the kid who's not a legacy that's dating the Scylla, the necromancer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Who is actually, yeah. Let's not get into that. Let's give people a chance to watch it.
But
yeah,
I think we'd all recommend this, right? Like it's. I mean, it's not. I don't know if it's going to make my top 20 or anything, but it's a good show.
I'm really enjoying this, especially given that all of my CW shows are currently on some kind of hiatus. This shit is saving me. This is my once a week, like, awesome. I want to watch some slightly teen drama, and the magic in this is handled really well. The whole premise is so bug shit crazy, and honestly, I would pay just to watch the effect of people burning their faces off and being someone else. It's a crazy cool effect.
That is pretty cool.
I can't believe that nobody in whatever IMF has done this before.
Your face will self-destruct.
Right?
All right.
So you're going to look like this guy if you choose to accept it.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in with us. Thank you, Charles Armstrong, and all our patrons. Thank you, Les. Thank you, Kyle.
I thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
And
Randy O Speedwagon.
Randy O Speedwagon.
And until next time.
Kyle contemplated what he was going to say at the end of the episode, as if there was anything he could say other than TV Dudes out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TV Dudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.